Am I the asshole for making a big deal about one extra credit point on my child's test? My daughter had a spelling test which included some holiday words for extra credit. One of the words was Hanukkah. My daughter spelled it the way I just did, but the teacher marked it wrong and corrected it to Hanukkah. She said to my daughter, "You're Jewish and you don't know how to spell Hanukkah." I think she meant it jokingly, but my daughter was annoyed. My daughter told the teacher that Hanukkah is correct, but the teacher didn't believe her. I told the teacher that Hanukkah was also correct and that my daughter should get the point, and the teacher argued with me, saying that Hanukkah is more correct because it's more commonly used than Hanukkah. I said if any spelling is more correct it would be Hanukkah because the ch represents the sound from the back of the throat you're supposed to make. The teacher agreed to correct the test but seemed really sour about it and said she was just trying to be inclusive. I said I appreciate that, but she should keep in mind that if the word isn't in English that there might be multiple acceptable spellings for it and that they should all be given credit. My husband says I overreacted. Honestly, I probably wouldn't have bothered so much if the word was something else, but I resented the teacher, who isn't Jewish, arguing with me and my daughter about how to spell our own holiday. Not the asshole. You didn't make a big deal about one credit point. You made a big deal out of a teacher that incorrectly told your kid she was wrong when she wasn't, and she wouldn't listen to your daughter's explanation. You just taught your daughter that if she's being treated unfairly, you have her back. You did well.
Not the asshole. And what? Your teacher, who is not Jewish, is lecturing you and your Jewish family on the correct spelling of a holiday she doesn't celebrate? You handled it far more calmly than I would have.
Not the asshole. Your daughter was correct. The teacher is uneducated. You responded to a teacher trying to pass off her lack of education as a fact when shush is just wrong. She also thought mocking a kid was acceptable. Heck no, report her. That is not inclusive, just insensitive.
Not the asshole. The way she joked about your daughter not knowing how to spell her own holiday is pretty far over the line. She wants a cookie for being inclusive? Fuck that. It's not okay to simply add a dreidel song to class and be like yay inclusive while hosting a Christmas pageant for all of December. It's not a feather in your hat to add Hanukkah to the spelling test. Expressionless. Not the asshole. The teacher should have known that both are commonly used in America for Hanukkah. I would be more upset by her saying to your daughter, "You are Jewish and don't know how to spell Hanukkah." That is over the line, judgments, tone deaf, and inappropriate, as well as inaccurate. She could have used this as a teaching moment to the class and herself about language and translation, but she chose to be ignorant instead.
Not the asshole. Being inclusive doesn't mean picking and choosing parts you like or want to show. Teach kids. Just because Hanukkah isn't is commonly used doesn't mean it's incorrect. It's just not the spelling people tend to reach for whatever reason. A lot of words in other languages and religions have multiple spellings that are all correct, and it's actually pretty important to teach these kids that there may be more than one way to spell it, maybe because of the way the grammar of the language worked or how it gets translated in the first place. Also hope you have a good Hanukkah. Not the asshole. If she wants to be inclusive, she should accept the correction from the person whose holiday it actually is. Aren't there over half a dozen correct ways to spell Hanukkah? Not the asshole. The way I'm interpreting your motivation, it wasn't about the point, it was about the teacher's cultural insensitivity. So not the asshole. Not the asshole. I see it as more about the teacher's dismissive attitude, especially considering the acknowledged fact that this is an important word in your culture and experience that she tried to claim she knew more about than you did. Also, she said to my daughter, "You're Jewish and you don't know how to spell Hanukkah," is not the sort of behavior I would expect from a teacher towards a student.
Not the asshole. The teacher was so rude the second she insulted your daughter she solidified herself as the asshole. Teachers shouldn't be insulting kids as a joke.
Not the asshole. That teacher was being a little racist. Inclusive, my ass.
Not the asshole. And how close-minded of the teacher to think that the way they do, in this case spell, something is the only correct way it could possibly be. Not the asshole. To answer the title of the thread, yes, you were silly to fuss about 1 point on a test. To answer the text of the op, you were perfectly correct to show the teacher that the orthography of non-English words, particularly when they come from a non-Roman alphabet, is not fixed, Tsar versus Tsar, and to show your daughter not only that there can be more than one right answer, but also that authority can be wrong. Not the asshole.
Did she give your kid a list with the correct spelling of each word? I was Canadian and I moved to America, so I had these battles with my teacher about those extra U.S. on the spelling tests. I would get points taken off and they would change the grade after I discuss it with them. After 2 years I learned to use the spelling they give me because it was too much effort to fight it. I am just asking, was your child told beforehand that it was spelled that way, or was she told verbally? Also, how much was this point worth? If it was keeping her from a specific letter grade, then absolutely fight it.
Not the asshole. You spelled it the way it's supposed to be spelled based off where the word comes from. What she is doing is not inclusion. It's whitewashing. Would she try and justify spelling Muslim, which is how it's been spelled for an eternity by white people, and they know that's not how it's spelled. They do it as an insult and to try and whitewash another culture.
Nah, not the asshole. And #X200B. I think the teacher got pissy because she was wrong and wasn't even aware of the other spelling.
Not the asshole. The teacher's response was just bad. It's deaf about more than the extra point. She should have been able to understand that and move on. For what it's worth, my sister's middle name is Kate and her 4th grade teacher tried to tell her she was spelling Kate wrong. My sis was like, no, it's Kate, and the teacher was like, Ork, sure. My mom sent my sister in the next day with a copy of her birth certificate. I'd send that teacher some literature in a very cheeky way, haha.
Not the asshole. I'm Jewish, so biased, and actually grew up only spelling it, Hanukkah. I was already a teen when I first learned of the predominantly American habit of replacing the ch with h. It's worse in my opinion. Not the asshole. It's not about the point. It's that the teacher is a non-Jewish person telling a Jewish person how to be Jewish, thus being an asshole.
Not the asshole. The teacher is not truly being inclusive if she is not providing correct information. Saying one spelling is more commonly used is arbitrary, particularly since she is not a member of the Jewish faith and would only have limited, and likely commercial, exposure to the word. Your argument was not so much about your daughter getting credit for the assignment, but about the teacher using inaccurate information to grade the assignment. Part of accepting and acknowledging other cultures is understanding that they do not always fit into the linguistic rules or traditions of the English language.
Not the asshole. The teacher is being stubborn and letting their ego get to them. A quick Google search would prove you're correct.
Not the asshole. I'm Irish born and bred. We have lots of Irish words or variants of Irish words in everyday speech. And I am fluent in Irish, and the amount of time people correct me is annoying. You did a good thing, not just for your daughter and your faith, but for that teacher. Not the asshole. I feel like this teacher would have pitched a fit if your daughter wrote it out in Hebrew. There are over 20 different ways to spell Hanukkah. It's not up to her to decide which is right.
Not the asshole. I'm not Jewish but know multiple correct spellings for your holiday. Teacher was in the wrong.
Not the asshole. I wanted to be inclusive, so I intentionally excluded a valid spelling of this word in favor of the more common, Americanized version. Teacher can GTFO with that crap.
The teacher agreed to correct the test but seemed really sour about it and said she was just trying to be inclusive. LMAO, how is only spelling a word one way trying to be inclusive? Not the asshole.
Not the asshole. I would argue the teacher shouldn't be assigning extra credit words she doesn't understand how to spell. If there are 2 spelling, both are correct. It isn't a chose which one she is thinking. She is likely bitter because she felt so inclusive for sharing the holidays and thought she got to teach your daughter something new. In reality, she is ignorant, doesn't understand the etymology of the word, and she did not like that you called her on it. It lets her know she isn't as woke as she was hoping. She was the asshole the moment she argued something was more culturally right for a culture she is not a part of. She doesn't get to make that call. I'm a teacher. We call this white supremacist pedagogy. Teaching in a way that disregards cultures other than white American culture. It's a major problem in education, and this teacher needs educating. Not the asshole.
Not the asshole. Good on you for showing your kid that you will be there for her if her teacher is being unreasonable. If there are multiple correct answers, you need to give credit for all of them. At some point your child will learn that sometimes you have to suck it up and give the teacher what they want to hear, but the age where spelling tests are a regular thing is not yet it. This is the time where learning still needs to be exciting and fun. The disillusionment can come later.
Not the asshole, and she's a fake woke borderline anti-Semite. There are literally over 20 spellings of Hanukkah in English. That's the issue with transliteration over from a non-Latin alphabet. Start using Zanuka or 7 Nuka and watch her brain explode.
Not the asshole. If you're trying to be inclusive, it's best not to argue with the people you're trying to include over how to spell the name of one of their holidays. Odds are they know more about it than you. She knew your daughter was Jewish and tried to correct her when she could have done a simple Google search to understand the difference in spelling. Not the asshole.
Next time someone tries to insist knowing more about your religion, holiday than you do, send in a rabbi to educate them. Happy Hanukkah, by the way.
Not the asshole. I most commonly use the Hanukkah spelling, so I'd be irritated if it was mistaken and points deducted. Info. This gets me every year, because I always want to spell it Chanukah. Why does the Hanukkah spelling have the double K, and the Hanukkah spelling only one K? Genuinely curious. I grew up very near the largest American Jewish population outside New York, I believe, and I use a lot of Hebrew, Yiddish words, but I've never asked about the spelling of this one. Not the asshole.
Not the asshole, especially after the comment the teacher made to your child.
Not the asshole at all. And technically the only correct way to spell it is in Hebrew, so there's that.
Not the asshole. Fellow Jew here. As the son of a librarian who is quite pedantic regarding language, poor transliteration is a particular pet peeve of mine. That teacher is assisting in the whitewashing of the spelling of a holiday with a non-English name. That is the opposite of inclusivity.
Not the asshole. I am surprised a teacher doesn't know this.
Not the asshole. The teacher had a wonderful opportunity to teach the class about transliteration and how it affects the spelling of words from other languages. But instead decided to shame a child for being Jewish and spelling the word differently than the non-Jewish version the teacher wanted.
I think it depends on the spelling of the word on the study guide. If the teacher used Hanukkah in the lesson instead of Hanukkah, then no, she doesn't deserve the point. Not the asshole. You were correct. You didn't overreact, and the teacher was mean about it to your daughter. You're Jewish and you don't even know how to spell it is pretty offensive. When I, an American, was in early grade school, I used a lot of British spellings, e.g., color, because my favorite books at that age were mostly by English writers, Paddington, etc. I got marked off on one test. My mom had me bring in a Paddington book to show my teacher, and my teacher gave me a kind and informative lesson on multinational spellings, and agreed that she wouldn't count British spellings as wrong, but she would indicate which words also had an American spelling so I could learn that. That's the correct way to deal with this issue as a teacher.
Not the asshole. It's spelled both ways all the time. So blessed that the great white savior teacher is there to set your Jewish child right. S.
Not the asshole, but she is very much one for going after a kid. I am not sure how old your daughter is, but teachers are there to teach, not to mock the students. I find this disturbing that the teacher was not being teachable. Teachers aren't always right, and her reaction to the word is disturbing.
Zhu trying to be inclusive, lol okay. And then she went to the black kid and exclaimed, no no no. Enna isn't spelt with an a, that's barbaric. Boy, I tell you, these people need to learn about their own culture.
I went to school in the 1980s in a town that didn't have any Jewish people in it, and even my Catholic, Christian, redneck, bigoted, racist as fuck teachers all knew that there are like a million ways to spell Hanukkah correctly. One in particular gave it to us on a spelling test and joked that it was a guaranteed point because there was no way she could know if whatever we wrote was one of the correct spellings or not. Had there been any actual Jewish kids in our school, I can't imagine a teacher there telling them they didn't know how to spell a word that was such a huge part of their own culture. Not the asshole.
Not the asshole. Sorry your daughter's teacher was being such an ass about it.
As a teacher myself, I am 100% on your side. Not the asshole. The teacher literally argued with a Jewish person about the correct spelling of a Jewish holiday. She can kick rocks.